Going back to Luke 22 and 30, he says that what? Let's start at 28. Ye are they which have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint unto you a kingdom as my Father hath appointed unto me, that ye may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. When you look up this word for table, all right, we're going to sit directly at the table with Yahweh Shai, judging the matters of the whole entire planet Earth. Okay, the word table is trapeza. Trapeza, a table on which food is placed, an eating place. Now we know that we're going to eat and drink with him, but more importantly, this table symbolizes the table in which the priest sat, handling the affairs of the nation of Israel, taking in all of the increase, the goods, the first fruits that will come to the temple would all be given unto the priest. So it says the table in the temple at Jerusalem on which the consecrated loaves were placed, right? And it says the table or stand of a money changer, where he sits exchanging different kinds of money for a fee and paying back with loans or deposits. Now, when we go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 12th verse, now remember, these are the blessings. We got to remember to tap into these blessings. Yeah, we know the curses are from Deuteronomy 28:15 on down, but when you read the blessings, you get insight into what we are getting ready to inherit. Now, one of the things that Yahweh Shai said that we just read is that we're going to sit at his table with him, judging the affairs of the 12 tribes of Israel, setting everything in order, being at the forefront, all right, of establishing forever in paradise. Deuteronomy 28:12, Yahweh shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his seasons, and everything is going to flourish, everything is going to be on point, won't be any drought, right? The seasons are going to come in perfection, everything will flourish, no GMOs, right? And to bless all the work of thy hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, not borrow. That in the NLT, it says you will lend to many nations, but you will never need to borrow, which is Yahweh Shai. We are going to be the bankers of the nation of Israel. We're going to be the bankers of the whole world. But see, we're going to deal in righteousness. And we will be able to lend to heathen. We will be able to deny loans. We'll be at the forefront of how everything flows throughout the whole four corners of the earth. The Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. See, and this is what's promised unto us under Yahweh Shai's kingdom of creation. Being at the forefront of setting everything back in its proper perspective, putting everything where it needs to be. All right, from trees to everything that you can imagine. And we're going to do this in new bodies.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right. And what I want to get into with this morning news and prophecy, what we're starting to see, is Iran, on offense. We're starting to see Iran on the offensive, okay? Because throughout this whole duration, even going back to, 2024, okay, when you first had the back and forth, direct back and forth between Iran and the small hats, Iran was always reacting, to provocations, from the small hats in America, okay? But what we're seeing now is Iran has taken the offensive, okay? They're beginning to strike without being provoked, okay? And just because America has stopped, doing strikes on Iran, well, guess what? Iran is continuing strikes on America. And the way that they did it, the timing, the political, statement that it made, okay? It just shows you that there's nothing but, escalation that's going to continue with this conflict. Is it devil, on the other side, these elites, roll out this new world order, this technocracy, this war is going to increase, right along with the rollout of this technocracy, man. Okay, because the Heavenly Father, he's getting ready to make big moves in the earth. We're in the time of a change of rulership, and that's why we go into these things. So before we even, go into, the details of the happenings, all right, let's go into the spirit. Okay, that's why when you go here, let's get this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51. Okay, it's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, and verse. Let's see. Let's start at 33. Jeremiah 51 and 33 said, "For thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al Shah of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come." Okay? So what we're seeing in what the Lord is doing, because America is going to be the threshing floor, the place of great judgment. These missiles, okay, and these chariots. The return of Yahweh in America is going to be like a threshing floor, man. Okay, where the elect are going to be harvested, going to be brought up in those chariots, and everything else is going to be burnt with fire, man. Okay, and this war is leading to America being a great threshing floor in the earth. Okay, now when you jump down to verse 34, it says, "Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, have devoured me. He have crushed me. He have made me an empty vessel." And this is from the perspective, of a captive, an Israelite captive. Okay, now we're speaking about Nebuchadnezzar, which during the time of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, Nebuchadnezzar, okay, did, all right, take our people away in captivity. He put a siege, on Jerusalem, okay. His militaries destroyed, men, women, and children, and took captives, okay. But then in Babylon the Great, Esau did it on a much bigger scale. Okay, that's why when you read it, said Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, have devoured me. He have crushed me. He have made me a empty vessel. He has swallowed me up like a dragon. Wait a minute. Why does it mention a dragon? Okay, because we understand Rome Reloaded, which is America, aka what? Babylon the Great. Okay, because now it's the dragon, this beast system that has devoured and crushed us as a people, man. Okay, and there's a punishment for that, because what? These devils took it too far. Okay, and that's why the Lord has started this war. See, the Lord instigated this war. All right, because he wants to bring judgment, okay, on America, on Esau, and these heathens, man. Okay, that's why I said he have swallowed me up like a dragon. He have filled his belly with my delicates. He says he have cast me out. You know, as the scriptures speak about what the Lord's delicate ones have gone rough ways, man. You know, speaking about the Middle Passage, okay, during the transatlantic slave trade, okay, and what we was taken away, okay, by this dragon. You see, now we're in captivity under this dragon, man. You know, Rome Reloaded, the revived Roman Empire, man. You know, with the hub being over here in America, man. You see, but when you keep reading, it says the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of the Chaldeans shall Jerusalem say. Shall Jerusalem say? Yeah, because going back to America, which America is the headquarters of who? The Chaldeans, the elites. Okay, because it's the elites that have orchestrated. When you even go to the transatlantic slave trade, well, that was financed by the elites. Okay, this latest captivity, the elites have been at the forefront of orchestrating. All right, the chattel slavery of our people and the systemic, okay, slavery of our people after the chattel slavery, man. Okay, and they never let up. You know, so the violence done to me, all right, and to my flesh be upon Babylon, man. So Babylon has a lot of guilt. Even when you go into, okay, let's get this real quick in Revelation 17. You know, because like I said, Esau, he took it too far. You know, he was giving it to his hand, like the scriptures say, but he showed no pity. You see, even when we was, you know, defeated as a people, you know, he never let up. It just had this perpetual, you know, unwavering hatred, man. Okay. Now, when you go here, Revelation 17:5, it says, and upon her forehead was a name written. Okay. And her is speaking the whore that rideth this beast system, which is America. Mystery, Babylon the Great. You know, so the things done to us in the Neo-Babylonian Empire, well, Esau done it on a much greater scale. Okay. During the time of America, man. You know, the new, all right, the revived Babylonian Empire in the earth, man. It said the mother of harlots and abominations on the earth. And I saw a woman drunken with the blood of the saints. You see that? You know, and when you're drunken with something, that means what you're engulfed in it. You see? So this devil has the blood of the saints all over it, man. You know, America has the blood of the saints all over it, man. And there's a judgment for that. And that's why this war was started, man. The Lord is finna avenge his elect. Okay? And it says, and with the blood of the martyr of Yahushua, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So America is guilty of the blood of the saints, man. You know, that you speak about, you know, what's happened to the Palestinians, and, you know, well, what they did to us was on another level. Okay, I'm talking hundreds of millions, you know, if not more. Okay, what they did to us as a people was on a whole nother level. All right, and there's a consequence for that, you know, and this war is going to lead up to the vengeance of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. That's why Revelation 18, you go to the next, all right, you go to the next chapter, Revelation 18 and 20. It says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for the Most High have avenged you on her. Okay, you see that? So all this blood, okay, that's upon America, all this blood of the saints that's upon America is going to be avenged in this war. Okay, that's why there's no good news for America, man. There's no good news for any of these heathens, man. But where we at now in prophecy, the Lord is utilizing these other nations to judge America, man. Okay, before these nations are judged as well. Okay, but America is going to get the brunt of the judgment in this war, because this war was brought about to bring about mass judgment from on high. Esau, his mind, these elites think that this war, okay, is going to bring about a new world order. Okay, but no, the Lord's finna use this war to bring about global judgment, man, and the eradication of America, man. Okay, this is what this war is about. So when you go back to Jeremiah, okay, 51, Jeremiah 51 and oh yeah, yep, 51 and 30, 35, read 35 again. It says, the violence done to me and to my flesh be upon Babylon, shall the inhabitants of Zion say, and my blood upon the inhabitants of Chaldea shall Jerusalem say. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai, behold, I will plead thy cause and take vengeance for thee. I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. Okay? So the Lord is getting ready to bring about a vengeance, man. You see, this is the ultimate play that's being set up. Okay? And the vengeance of the Lord is going to overtake the agenda of the elites in their new world order, man. Okay, and America is going to be a desert. The elite's going to go in their bunkers. Okay, the heathen, all right, are going to be subdued and military is destroyed. Okay, the elect are going to be changed, made immortal. You see, so now Esau has reached the end of his kingdom. He's reached the end of his rulership, man. You know, and he's trying to scramble, you know, and hold on. But every move he make, it just put him deeper into the hole, man. Okay, it says, and Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, and astonishment and the hissing without an inhabitant. Man, this place is going to be uninhabitable, man. All right, this place is not going to be able to be inhabited, man. You know, when the Lord finishes judging, okay, America, man. You see, it will be a place that will never be inhabited by people again. You know, and it's going to be a memorial, okay, of the results of wickedness. You see, the desert, you know, there was once the desert. There was once America. Is going to be a memorial, okay, of what happens, you know, when a nation operates in wickedness, man. Okay, so let's in fact, let's go here. Let's go back to Jeremiah 50. You see, because this is leading up, you know, to the second Exodus, man. Okay, the second Exodus is going to be at the climax of this war. You know, when Yahweh Shai is sent to deliver his remnant, well, it's going to be at the climax of this war, which is going to go nuclear, man. Okay, so this devil, and see, time is on him. This devil has to try to roll out a new world order. Okay, because prophecy is moving, man. Okay, Jeremiah 50 and 33 said, thus said the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. So just like ancient Pharaoh, okay, Esau has been hard, and him trying to establish this new world order is him saying that he's going to have, all right, Israel in captivity forever. You know, here it is. He says he's going to take the Lord's possession unto himself. All right, because we're the Lord's inheritance, man. You know, his people. You see, well, this devil like, now I'm gonna change. You know what it means to be a human. I'm gonna change their makeup. I'm gonna make them after my image. Okay, and I'm gonna have them in captivity forever. You know, I'm gonna set up a system to where nobody can revolt against me. All right, nobody can, form a military against me. You see, I'm gonna erase the names of, you know, because that's why he's so into that Neuralink, because this devil, you know, he wants to erase. Like, if this devil was able to establish a new world order and have it going for generations, man, it wouldn't be a such thing as a Bible. It wouldn't be the names of the Lord. All right, in his mind, that's what he wants, but he's not able to do that. He has nowhere near the authority to remove the name of the Lord from the earth. okay, or to remove the Lord's word. But that's his intention. Okay, that's his intent and what he's trying to do. Okay, well, the Lord is getting ready to stop this man. That's why verse 34 said their redeemer is strong. And see, the Lord's finna show Esau real power, real strength. You know, Esau been boasting and beating his chest in the earth because he's been able to dominate, you know, the nations of the earth. Okay, and that's why the Lord, the Lord is starting with allowing these nations to get at Esau, man, to show you that I don't care how strong you thought you was, man. Okay, this the level you really on. Okay, and Esau, in his mind, he thinks that he's, you know, at the doorstep of some type of godhood. Nah, nigga, you can't even deal with the nations of the earth, man. Okay, I'm finna make you catch hell with the nations of the earth to show you, all right, that you ain't even nowhere near. Okay, it says he shall thoroughly plead their cause, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. How is he going to disquiet them? Okay, by turning this place to a desert, man. You see, no one, all right, in America is going to survive except the elect. Okay, you see, America is going to be completely, all right, and thoroughly, all right, destroyed. You know, it's going to be a complete desolation. All right, and these are the times that we are in. So let's go from here. Let's just go into the happenings of things that we see that's happening. All right. Let's go. Let's go here. So just to go into it, so what you have, so to go back to follow the narrative that's been happening. So you had they had the funeral for the Ayatollah in Iran a couple of weeks ago, and during their funeral, America started to do strikes on Iran during their funeral. So that's what started this back and forth that we see happening now. All right. So it was crazy disrespectful, you know, for America to do that, you know. So America started back, you know, the strikes during their funeral. So had the back and forth. Now, yesterday, you had Zelensky, all right, the Ukraine president, and Bibi Netanyahu meeting with Donald Trump. And you had the Lindsey Graham funeral. Okay. So while they was having the Lindsey Graham funeral, the damn demon. Okay. So they was having the Lindsey Graham funeral yesterday, and you had BB and Trump together, all right, in DC. Okay. So while they was doing that, Iran caught some American soldiers in Jordan. They struck the bases in Jordan. Okay, during Lindsey Graham funeral. You see? Now, Iran was the last one to strike, and America stopped retaliating 3 days ago. So there ain't been no strikes back and forth. But see, Iran started back striking yesterday during Lindsey Graham funeral. Okay, and it's the first time that Iran has ever attacked, all right, America unprovoked. So now this put Iran on offense. You see? And that's telling America, look, you don't decide when it's peace. Okay? So now you see Iran taking an offensive posture, man. You see? It's a different energy in the earth, man, because the Lord, all right, got this thing escalated, man. Okay? So this devil, he gonna have to scramble and hurry up and throw this new world order up, man. Okay? Because the Lord got his feet on the gas. Okay? With prophecy, man. You see, and they're saying that over 40 U.S. troops, you know, were killed, you know, during this strike yesterday, man. You know, during Lindsey Graham funeral. So let's play this.
Live report. Today we are tearing the lid off a monumental secret, a catastrophic military debacle that mainstream media has buried so deep they hope you'll never find it. While the world is being fed distractions and fluff pieces that has fundamentally shifted the balance of power, Iran's armed forces executed a textbook perfect precision strike on an occupation forward deployment base in the Syrian Golan Heights. This was no mere skirmish. This was a resounding slap across the face of Benjamin Netanyahu, that face perpetually twisted by lies, and a humiliating gut punch to Donald Trump's bloated, arrogant ego. The casualty figures alone are enough to make any military analyst's jaw drop. Reportedly, at least 40 American soldiers and 29 occupation troops were turned into lifeless statistics on that scorched earth, with over 418 more wounded, mangled, and bleeding out. This marks the single heaviest loss of American life in the Middle East since the end of World War II. And this was just one coordinated phase of Iran's larger True Promise 4 military campaign.
Hello. My name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us at our next
a campaign that has exposed the rotting foundations of the so-called axis of resistance adversaries. So how did this horrific loss happen on the ground? How did the world's most advanced air defense systems fail so spectacularly that they didn't even register a blip on the radar? Until the first warheads detonated, what does this say about a crumbling empire desperately trying to stitch its wounds shut with like layers of propaganda and censorship? Friends, before we go any further, please hit that like button, share this video with every truth seeker you know, and help us shatter the algorithmic silence. Drop a comment below, even if it's just a dot, a single period, to tell the algorithm real journalism matters. If you haven't subscribed, do it now. Education is the only thing keeping independent, honest voices alive. Now, let's dissect this attack that sent shockwaves through the Pentagon and forced the war criminal Netanyahu into a desperate late-night security huddle. The roots of this world-shaking strike trace back to a series of humiliating defeats for the occupation forces and their American masters in Jordan. Iranian military intelligence had been running rings around the U.S. Central Command, executing a series of ruthless, highly precise strikes on critical American and occupation bases in Jordan. The strikes were so devastating, so surgically perfect, that American troops were forced into a chaotic, humiliating scramble to evacuate their shattered positions. According to intelligence reports circulating in the region, the retreating U.S. forces were hastily redirected to a forward operating base in the Golan Heights, occupied Syrian territory, while the occupation troops themselves were simultaneously redeployed from their own domestic military installations to the very same location. The enemy's objective was clear: consolidate a massive strike force in the Golan Heights to launch a new offensive against Iran. As the occupation and American troops consolidated in the Golan base, patting themselves on the back for a job well done, Iran's military unleashed its meticulously planned vengeance. This wasn't just a random rocket barrage, it was a symphony of destruction. The operation involved Khaybar Shikan and Qader missiles, hard-hitting, accurate beasts, combined with swarms of devastating attack drones. But the crown jewel of this assault was a piece of technology that has sent Western military attachés into fits of panic. A never-before-seen radar-evading stealth drone, quickly dubbed the Ghost by terrified intelligence officers. This drone is revolutionary. It flies with almost no acoustic signature. It appears as nothing more than static on the most advanced monitoring systems. Iranian media have hinted at the capabilities of the Arash 2 drone, boasting a range of 2,000 kilometers and stealth features, but what hit that base was something even more diabolically effective. The cost effectiveness is what terrifies the Pentagon the most. Cheap to produce, quick to deploy, and utterly devastating. When the swarm of these ghost drones entered the airspace over the Golan base, the occupation's beloved Iron Dome and David's sling systems remained blissfully silent. They didn't detect a thing. In a matter of minutes, the base's command and communication hubs were vaporized in the first wave, plunging the entire garrison into chaos. Then the missiles rained down, tanks were flipped like toys. Bunkers collapsed on top of the very soldiers they were supposed to protect. The footage that later leaked online showed a landscape of absolute carnage-twisted metal, burning wreckage, and the shattered myth of an invincible occupation army. This is precisely what Professor Jeffrey Sachs, the renowned economist and
Yeah, so Man, so here it is. Iran bombarded the bases in Jordan. Okay, so they caught some bodies in the American military base in Jordan, which they flee to the Golan Heights. And, you know, the surviving soldiers flee to the Golden Heights with the IDF soldiers. Okay, so they was huddled up in the Golan Heights, and then Iran sent them ghost drones to the Golan Heights. Okay, and as those drones came through, okay, right behind them was ballistic missiles, man. You know, that made those bases fall on soldiers, man. Okay, and this was all during Lindsey Graham's funeral, and when BB was over there talking to Trump. Okay, so Iran is giving them niggas something to talk about. There was a message to BB and Trump. They had America and Israeli troops in the same place, and they struck both of them at the same time. You know, they herded them niggas to their base in the Golan Heights, and they struck both of them at the same time. Okay, why BB and Trump was in the meeting. Okay, message sent. You know, because whatever, hey, whatever y'all talking about, nigga, we with it. All right, that was the message sent to Trump and BB. Whatever y'all niggas discussing in the Oval Office, nigga, we with it. Y'all come back over here. You know, so you see a different posture from Iran, man. Okay, and let's go here. All right, let's go from there. All right, and the brother can post that. You know, hey, let the weak say I'm strong. You know, let's get that in Joel 3. You know, maybe like 9 through 12. You know, let's get that. All right, but then you go here. What do we have happening in the back? Okay, while that's happening, you see, let's play this.
Iran is expected to receive its first shipment of Chinese-made shoulder-fired air defense missile systems within weeks. The move comes as Tehran looks to rebuild its defenses after months of conflict with the United States. The deal is estimated to be worth between 60 to 70 million US dollars. If completed, it would mark one of Iran's biggest known efforts to strengthen its short-range air defenses since the West Asia War began. The conflict exposed serious gaps in Tehran's ability to protect key military bases and strategic infrastructure. According to sources familiar with the agreement, the contract covers between 300 and 400 man-portable air defense systems, commonly known as MANPADS. These include the Chinese-made QW-12 and FN-16 shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile systems. But what exactly are MANPADS? Well, they are portable, shoulder-fired air defense systems, light enough to be carried and operated by a single soldier or a two-person team. They're designed to shoot down low-flying aircraft, helicopters, and drones, while their maximum engagement range is that of around 6 kilometers. So now we know what MANPADS do, but why does Iran want them so badly? Well, months of fighting against the United States and allies have weakened parts of its air defense network. During the conflict, the US and Israel struck sites linked to Iran's missile, drone, and air defense programs. Iran drones targeting Israel, adding hundreds of MANPADS would significantly strengthen Tehran's short-range air defenses. It would also point to growing military ties between China and Iran. Reports suggest the agreement was signed through a Hong Kong-based company acting as an intermediary between Tehran and the Chinese supplier. However, key details are yet to be finalized. Delivery schedules, quantities, and implementation could still change. Now, Iran's foreign ministry has not commented on the reported deal, while China has also denied it.
The relevant reports are completely groundless. China has consistently played a role in promoting peace and ending the conflict.
And under the proposed plan, the systems would reportedly leave Urumqi in western China before passing through Pakistan on their way to Iran. It remains unclear whether the jet air require a combination of both. Pakistan has also denied it.
Speculations of Pakistan being involved in supply of air defense weapons to Iran from China are absolutely concocted and false.
Well, the claims have drawn attention for another reason. Earlier reports said Iran used the Chinese-made shoulder-fired missile to bring down a US F-15E Strike Eagle over southwestern Iran during the early stages of this conflict. Both crew members ejected safely, with the pilot rescued within hours. Beijing denied supplying weapons to Iran at the time and continues to do so. But this report prompted scrutiny in Washington. US officials examined whether Chinese weapons or technology had reached Iran. In June, the Trump administration imposed sanctions on individuals and entities accused of helping Iran procure military equipment. However, those sanctions did not establish that the Chinese government was directly supplying weapons to Tehran. So, whether these missile systems reach Iran or not, the claims have put China's defense ties with Tehran under fresh scrutiny. Both countries deny any arms transfer, but
So yeah, so you got, China, okay, getting ready to send more, weaponry to Iran, and everybody, because these nations are being forced to pick a side, which is fulfilling prophecy, man. Okay, the kings of the East are getting tighter and tighter. Okay, Ezekiel 38, Turkey is the last piece to Ezekiel 38, so whatever happens is there's something that's going to happen that's going to pull Turkey into this war, and more than likely it's going to be them small hats, man. Okay, because small hats are the reason everyone that we see fighting is fighting. Even you got the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, they struck Iran. Not Iran, they struck Iraq. And that's the thing too. America ain't responding yet, to what Iran did yesterday. Or America ain't responding yet. They did a joint strike with Saudi Arabia. They struck Iraq, okay, but they haven't struck Iran. Small hats, they haven't did nothing, okay, and they struck in Golan Heights, which is occupied by the IDF. America and the small hats haven't done anything, okay. So what we're seeing, all right, is these small hats have started, these wars, okay. And this is the war that's going to erase them and America, man. And the only difference is America is going to be uninhabited forever, all right? But the land of Israel is going to be cleansed through fire, all right? Ready to be built up, okay, for the true people. These heathens are going to be enslaved to build up our kingdom, okay, at the end of this war. You see? So everything is working in our favor, man. Like we always get, brother, when we get there, Romans 8:28. Okay. So let's go from there, because and then we'll segue to, so why, America is on the back foot in this war. All right. Well, we're starting to see an increase is the war on U.S. citizens, man. Okay. So let's segue to this video next. We'll get some precepts. Let's go here. All right, so let's get this is 144 almost home. Joel 3:9 said, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Okay, let them come up. So the Lord has activated the spirit amongst these nations, man. The mighty man has been awakened amongst these nations, and they're all set for war. Okay, the spirit that's in these nations is all set, all right, for war, man. Okay, and these nations have been emboldened, and especially as they see, that American military power was over-exaggerated. Okay, because you can be the strongest military on the earth and be over-exaggerated. Okay, the strongest military of the earth don't mean invincible. All right. And these nations are seeing the chink in America's armor, and we're going to see, and it's going to be contagious. What Iran is doing is going to be contagious against, all right, it's going to be contagious amongst all these other nations. It's prophesied to come up, okay, against America, man. Okay, the kings of the east. All right, the north country of Russia, the assembly of nations. Okay, Ezekiel 38. All this embolden these nations to fulfill their part of prophecy, man. Okay, and while this devil is having to roll out this new world order, and we know to roll out this new world order, he has to go hard body on the U.S. citizens, man, on U.S. society. Okay, Joel 3:10, it says, "Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I'm strong." Okay, because now these nations that was once weak, all right, have what? Weaponry. They beat their plowshares into swords and their pruning hooks into spears, which means their weaponry. They've invested a lot into their weaponry, man. Okay. So now these nations have weaponry that they can combat, all right, the whore. They can combat Babylon. You see? And they don't have to have, aircraft to match the F-35s and F-22s. No, they got drones and ballistic missiles that can match them. And then even going into here, like they was talking about those Chinese man pads that are self-defense. So these man pads that China got that they're going to give to that they're going to sell to Iran, these are the same ones that you had Iraqi militant groups, that was pro-Iranian. They was taking out, those refueler jets, from Iraq. So these are men on the ground, and these man pads got radars on them, and those jets are most vulnerable whenever they're getting refueled because they coming from so far out because they got to stay out of the range of Iranian missile defense. So they coming from so far out that they got to get refueled in the air, and they got to slow down and get refueled by those big tankers, So you have militants in Iraq with these man pads, and they're able to pick up on these tankers, and they're able to launch, okay, from the ground, off the shoulder. So you got to think about it. This is one man on the ground, okay, and able to launch a rocket from his shoulder that can take down a jet. You see? So they got a different type of weaponry. Like I say, they don't have to have, 2,000, fighter jets that can match, Americans head to head in the air. No, there will be suicide. Okay. But they got to where they got men, all right, they can take down jets from the ground. Okay. So they can counter American strength. So American strength is being canceled out, all right, in warfare. Okay. The hammer of the earth is being broken. You see, and Yahweh Shai is going to come and give it that final blow. So you go to verse 11. It said, Joel 3:11 says, "Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, till the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord." You see that? So the Lord has a spirit in the earth, man. These nations are assembled together. You got, like I say, Russia and China giving weaponry intel to Iran, that they on the front line fighting this war with America and these small hats. Okay. Iran sending certain drones to Russia to fight Ukraine. Okay. You have these different proxies that are getting weapons, from these bigger nations, to join in, like Yemen and Hezbollah. Okay. So the Lord has these nations assembling together for the sake of prophecy, man. They're being gathered together. North Korea sending troops to Russia. Okay. And they say they're ready to send troops to Iran if there's a ground invasion, man. So these nations are assembling together, man. Why? Because of prophecy, man. You see? And the angels are playing on the minds, okay, of these rulers, man. All right, to fulfill prophecy. Okay. Verse 12, it says, "Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." And see, that's what it's all about. Okay, these nations are being summoned, okay, to this region of the earth. And that's where Yahweh Shai is going to come judge all all right, the militaries of the earth, man, in this region. You see? So the Lord putting the spirit on these nations to brawl for it all, man. Okay, and it's a setup for Yahweh Shai to come, all right, and clear the board. Okay. So let's let's play this. This is the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28. The brother servants of servants for Yahweh Shai 144. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Most High, to them who are called according to his purpose. Okay, to them who are called according to his purpose, man. So everything is working on our behalf, man. This war is going exactly like we need to go. Everything is falling right in place, man. Okay, there's nothing happening that's not in our favor, you see. But for Esau, everything is happening, okay, that's against his favor, man. Okay, because his time is up, you see, and the Lord is packing this nigga up with prophecy, man. Okay, so let's play this, man, because as of late in Babylon, it's like you can't eat a goddamn thing in America, man. You know, the way they've been going lately, they say with these recalls, man, you know, and they do this, you know, to create fear, panic, okay, because they're getting ready to do something. When they're pushing fear, they're getting ready to bring something about, and they want you to be in a state of fear, okay? So your decision making is irrational, okay? So these devils about to keep bringing these you know, which actually, when the food been poisoned, we've been, you see, but now they're just doing it on another level, okay? And you know the devil has a psyops behind this to stoke fear, okay, within the American society, man, okay, because he wants people in constant fear to create, all right, irrational and poor decision making, man. So let's play this.
Good time to be aware of what you're buying at the grocery store, because it could seriously make you sick. So the FDA just put out a regulated foods and active outbreak linked recalls. There's 27 on this list, folks, and we're going to go through all of them so you know all about it. First, folks, you need to subscribe, and you're going to want to share this. So first on the list is Fresh and Ready Foods, Sprig and Sprout Spicy Breakfast Burritos. Let's see, Midwest Poultry Service multi-brand white shell eggs and brown cage-free shell eggs. Next is Pumpkin Tree Peter Rabbit Organics Banana Strawberry Fruit Puree pouches, the 4-ounce pouches. Zen Principles Moringa Leaf Powder Capsules. Taylor Fresh Farms CVJB Mark and other labels Iceberg Lettuce. Ola Pounded Yams, 2 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds, and 10 pounds. Kong Guam Incorporated glutinous rice balls and black sesame filling, black and white glutinous rice balls. Okay. Greenwise Organics, IQF frozen blueberries. Okay, next on the list is Wildlife Seasoning, flavored popcorn seasoning. Let's see, Stoltz Family Dairy Sour Cream Onion Cheese Curds, Fisher Style Squirrel Brand Good Gather Snack Mixes, Pork King Good pork rinds and seasoning bottles, Zappa's Dirty Select Potato Chips, Girardelli's Select Large Powdered Beverage Mixes, Raw Form Raw Cheese, and Christopher Ranch Garland Peeled Garlic. There's more. Here we have La Colonia Soft Cheese, Morningstar Farms Buffalo Chicken Nuggets, Organic Whole Milk Powdered Infant Formula, Motor City Pizzas, Angel's Specialty Products, looks like Specialty Beverages, Kroger Homestyle Cheese Garlic Croutons, Blackstone Parmesan Ranch Seasoning, Williams Sonoma Fireworks Popcorn, White Cheddar Seasoning, and Giant Eagle Chips Parmesan Garlic and Herbs. And there's more. Next up is French Raw Chocolates, Betty's Bake Sale Bonbon Collection, Karma Foods, Mini Chocolate Raspberry Cups, and oh yeah, there's pet food too. So the pet food recalls include pedigree high protein chopped chicken, duck flavored wet dog food. Let's see, we got Raw Energy, multiple raw dog food products, Steve's Real Food, freeze-dried chicken recipe, Albright's chicken recipe for dogs, Breeder's Edge, Shelter's Choice, canine milk replacement, folks. And this is all from the FDA. As you can see here, the sources, not making this shit up, folks. That was a lot. Like, seriously, that was a lot. I've never heard of so many recalls, issues with our food in all my life. I wonder what's going on. I wonder if this has something to do with firing everybody that knows anything about food safety. Is our government actively trying to take us out? Because this is crazy.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. There's a war on U.S. citizens, and these things are going to heighten, man. You know, and we know, all right, we've been known that it's been poisoning, you know, most of the food, you know, and we do the best we can, you know, eating the best of the worst, because most we dealing with any goddamn way. Okay. You know, but in this society, all you got to eat the best you can, man. You know, is all we can do. Okay. But it just shows you, man, it's getting to the point to where the Lord just got to intervene. When it's getting to this point to where, you know, you got to see what's recalled. And then, oh, man, the Lord finna do something, man. The Lord is pushing the devil to go with his move, man. All right. You see, because this is ridiculous, man. You see, but then that's what happens when you get a whole society dependent, okay, on grocery stores, you know, instead of being able to, you know, grow their own food. Okay. When you get a whole society that's dependent on, all right, corporations and manufacturers, okay, and food company, where that gives the devil leverage where he can do this, man. Okay. And like I say, everyone's in, you know, a different situation. You know, you just do the best you can, you know, be aware, you know, kind of look into some things. All right, because it affect different areas. If a brother want to get that real quick in Sirach chapter 5, verse 15, you know, let's play there. Let's go to this one real quick.
As the FDA continues to warn of a parasitic illness connected to recalled iceberg lettuce, there's new concern about eggs in some parts of the country. It's causing grocery shoppers to be more vigilant when it comes to their lists. Action News reporter Taronda Thomas is live in Bala Cynwyd. Taronda, two staples on many people's grocery lists.
Yes, Sarah, eggs and lettuce. Now, the egg recall doesn't specifically impact our area, but after an outbreak involving contaminated lettuce got thousands of people sick, grocery shoppers want to know how they can stay safe. We got some.
I love salad. I love all types of salad. So honestly, not being able to eat my fruits and veggies really is a problem for me.
Recalls forcing some shoppers to adjust their grocery lists.
The bag lettuce was always my go-to because of the convenience. So I'm backing away.
It's because of the cyclosporiasis outbreak linked to iceberg lettuce. The company Taylor Farms in central Mexico issued a voluntary recall of restaurants as thousands of people have gotten sick. Now add eggs to the list of recalled foods. Midwest Poultry Service is recalling about 19 million eggs due to potential salmonella contamination. No states in our area are impacted by the egg recall right now, but still shoppers are on alert.
I'm a little nervous.
My wife just had a baby, actually. Yeah, so trying to be very careful.
Delaware-based registered dietitian and nutritionist Martha Henley says shoppers still have options.
The easiest way to work around the recall is to go as local as possible.
She says grocery shoppers can also think up healthy substitutions for salads.
Maybe grilled peppers or onions.
Kale was an option.
I'm looking more towards maybe spinach because I cook the spinach.
Experts say cooking helps reduce the chances of contamination.
If the egg product is fully cooked, and that's really, it's to an internal temperature of 160 degrees.
You have to pay attention when you do shopping.
Now, experts say when it comes to that lettuce recall, even if you do wash the lettuce well, there's a possibility of contamination. So be leery of that. The one that we spoke with said silver lining in all of this is the fact that it could cause some of us to be more creative when it comes to our summer veggie choices. And you know what? You just might discover a new favorite.
So yeah, you have all these recalls, the lettuce, the eggs, and it's something how and this is the thing too with the digital, with most things with being digital transactions, this devil can keep up to what people are buying, because as people are trending towards more fruit, raw diets, people are eating, a little more clean. Okay, there's no coincidence that these are the things that's being contaminated and recalled. Certain things that people, let's say like the little Eve says she's into her salads and fruits and vegetables. Okay. And it just make people, afraid to eat, terrified. And he's said that, and he's setting it up for him to come with some type of solution, man. Okay. So we'll see where the devil goes with this, man. But let's get a few precepts, and I got one more video. It's like the brother said, Matthew 24:22, brother Yashima tribe of Judah. And it says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened, man. And we just got to get out of here, man. Because everybody's not going to be able to grow food. Everybody's not in a position to do that. So that's not a fix-all solution. If you can, it's great. Be able to grow food, it's a great thing. And the Lord allow, certain brothers and sisters to tap in, that's cool. Okay. But the fix-all is the Lord shorten this man's rulership. Okay. That's the fix-all to this devil's, terror, man. This devil just being a terror from the earth, man. You see? So, yeah, and you just gotta be a little more, all right, prudent, as we move around these last days. Like we're supposed to be a noble people, so prudence should be a thing of that we apply in these times. That's why Sirach 5:15, all right, the brother 144 almost home. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small. Okay. So just understanding, certain particular things, the happiness, what's going on with certain things, man. They got lists you can look up, see what the devil up to, man. You see? But ultimately, the ultimate solution is the devil being removed from power, man. Okay. As the brother says, Sirach 10:3, as the brother Yashima tribe of Judah, it says an unwise king destroyed his people. Okay. And this devil, his rulership is based on creating a false dependency on him. Because see, like I say, no one's supposed to be dependent on the government. This is unnatural how tens of millions of people depend on the government for daily bread. This is unnatural, man. No civilization ever functioned like this. Okay? To where the millions of people depending on, all right, a handful of corporations to be fed. Okay? But it gives this devil leverage, and it gives him the ability to poison the masses. Okay? And he's an unwise king. Why would you do that? Okay? Because he's the wicked. It says, Sirach 10:3 says, unwise king destroys his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. Okay? And the prudence is going to go through what? Yahweh Shai. Okay? Because in our kingdom, man, the earth is going to flourish. People are going to flourish in our kingdom, man. The heathen, they're going to go through 1,000 years of harsh captivity. Okay? It's a punishment, man. But after that 1,000 years, man, the heathen, they're going to flourish, man. They'll always be tributaries in their servitude. Okay? And they'll never be, on our level. They'll never be part of the new covenant. They'll never have the new bodies. Okay? But they will enjoy abundance, man. They will be able, men will be the head of their households. Okay? The kingdom, the heathen will have substance to sustain themselves, man. Okay, to sustain big families, man, because we're gonna need servants, man. We want our servants to be fruitful and multiply, man. okay, in the kingdom. We want them to be healthy. We want them to have clarity. Not this kingdom, man, where everything destroys you, man. He wants it. He wants this man has a kingdom to where people are becoming, dumbed down, okay, low motivation, low fertility, okay. No, man, that kingdom gonna be the exact opposite, man. All right, and that's why we see this war is escalating, because it's a transition of power. So you go to Sirach 10:4, said the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he was set over one that is profitable, man. And we in that time where he's getting ready to set that one over that is profitable, and that's Yahweh Shai. And Lord we're joint heirs with Yahweh Shai. So let's play this, man, because Europe is over there catching hell, in the midst of all this going on. Okay. And that's why let's go here, see. Oh, here we go. So yeah, man, they talking about Europe, joining this war, man. Europe is at war with nature right now, man. And now I don't know if these devils, unleash these DW weapons, these direct energy weapons, because these devils, they always, they're always linked, to these events. Okay. So these devils could be the Lord, organically causing these things, but either way, it's the Lord. Okay. Either way, it's the Lord, man. So let's play this. Now I fact checked a lot of this, because I have an article I'm gonna read to go with it as well. But let's just play a little bit of this and see the happiness of what's going on in Europe.
Than 300,000 people have no home to go back to, not because of a war, not because of an earthquake, because of fire. Walls of fire moving faster than. Right now, as you watch this, more than 300,000 people have no home to go back to, not because of a war, not because of an earthquake, because of fire. Walls of fire moving faster than people can run. Entire towns reduced to ash in hours. And the most terrifying part of what is happening across Spain, France, reporters asked if these fires could be stopped. They said no, not yet. The fires are beyond control. Keep watching, because in the next few minutes, you are going to understand exactly why this is happening, why it is getting worse, and what nobody is telling you about where this is all heading. Let us start with Spain, because what is happening around Madrid right now is the kind of thing that should not be possible in 2026. Spain has a national emergency, not a local emergency, not a regional warning. The central government in Madrid activated a national emergency declaration for the first time in years because the fires got so large and so fast that the regional authorities could not handle them anymore. Think about what that means. The capital city of one of the largest countries in Europe is surrounded by smoke right now. People in Madrid who walked outside this week could barely breathe. The worst of the Spanish fires is burning west of Madrid, near a town called San Martín de Valdeiglesias, sitting right on the border between the Madrid region and the province of Ávila. This is not one fire. Two massive blazes are burning so close together that along a 15-kilometer stretch they are essentially touching. Two fires merging into one unstoppable wall of heat. Spain's military emergency unit, which is the country's elite disaster response force, took command of the entire firefighting effort. Not civilian fire services, the military. And the numbers they deployed are staggering. More than 2,700 personnel, over 400 ground vehicles, 21 aircraft. And crews from Greece, Italy, and Portugal flew in to help because Spain's own resources were not enough. But here is what the Madrid emergency chief said, and this is the sentence that stopped everyone cold. He described the fire as being at its peak and said, "It is currently beyond the capacity of firefighters to contain." He said that out loud, to the press, in public. An official in charge of protecting the capital city of Spain admitted on the record that his firefighters cannot stop what is burning. That is not something officials say unless it is absolutely true and absolutely necessary to say. So far in the Madrid region alone, close to 13 to 15,000 hectares are gone. And there is a separate fire near Guadalajara that has already burned 32,000 hectares and forced dozens of villages to evacuate. In total, more than 30 separate forest fires are burning across Spain simultaneously. 30 fires at the same time. The Interior Ministry reports that evacuation orders now cover more than 10,000 residents in the Madrid and Avila areas combined, with tens of thousands more affected nationwide. At least one person has died. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited the emergency command post and warned that difficult hours lie ahead because, while temperatures have dropped slightly, the winds remain completely unpredictable. Now, stay with me here, because what is happening in France is somehow even more alarming, and the number I'm about to give you is going to make you stop and replay it to make sure you heard it correctly. In France, in the southwest, near the Atlantic coast, fires have forced the evacuation of roughly 200,000 people from the Gironde department alone. Then add tens of thousands more from separate fires near other communities. The total displacement from the French fires is now part of what officials are calling one of the largest peacetime evacuations France has ever conducted. Peacetime. They had to specify peacetime because the last time this many was during a war. Let that land. Europe's fourth largest economy, one of the most visited tourist destinations on the planet, is conducting a wartime scale evacuation because of fire. The fires raging through the Gironde department are tearing through the forests west of Bordeaux. The region around Les Cap Ferret, a famous resort area on the Atlantic coast, was ordered to evacuate. Emergency alerts went directly to people's phones, ordering residents in at least 5 communities to move immediately toward Bordeaux. Shelters in Bordeaux are now packed. A separate blaze near Biscarrosse and Parentis-en-Born has burned more than 2,500 hectares on its own and triggered over 23,000 additional evacuations. Entire towns near the fires have been emptied. When the residents of one village returned to check on their properties, they found charred ruins. Their homes were gone. Serious this actually is. Teams arrived from Romania, Croatia, Germany, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland, and the Czech Republic. 8 countries sent emergency personnel to help France fight fires on its own soil. Planes, military cargo aircraft pressing fire retardant on the blazes near Bordeaux, water-carrying helicopters. Civilian and military resources combined into a single emergency operation. At least one person has died in the French fires. Authorities are warning that drought conditions, low humidity, and unpredictable winds mean the fires could surge again at any moment. And here is the part of this story that most news reports are skipping past. Bordeaux wine country is in that fire zone. One of the most famous wine regions on earth is sitting in smoke right now. Wine experts told CNN this week that the vineyards have not been directly destroyed yet, but they are warning about a phenomenon called smoke taint, where grapes absorb wildfire, smoke, and the wine made from those grapes is permanently damaged. The economic impact of what is burning through the Gironde is not just the homes and the forests. It is decades of agricultural heritage sitting in the path of a fire that officials cannot yet fully stop. Now let us go to Italy, and I want you to understand something before we do, because Italy's situation is different in an important way that changes how you should think about all 3 of these disasters together. Sicily has been under siege. More than 1,000 firefighting interventions have been recorded on the island since the middle of this month alone. 1,000 separate times that firefighters had to respond to fire emergencies on one island in 2 weeks. A firefighter died battling a blaze near Catanetta. Homes across Sicily have been evacuated. Large active fires are burning near Bavona, where more than 6,500 hectares have gone up in flames, and near Resitano, with more than 3,000 more hectares burned. Sardinia is dealing with its own separate emergencies, including a fire near Aglientu that forced beaches to be cleared and coastal road equally serious. The Po River, which is the longest river in Italy and the water source for millions of people and thousands of farms in the Po Valley, has dropped to record low levels because of the persistent heat and drought. Municipalities in the Piedmont region have introduced steep fines for anyone caught using drinking water to wash cars or water gardens. They are rationing. In 2026, one of the wealthiest industrial regions of Europe is rationing water because there is simply not enough. Italy has already seen tens of thousands of hectares burned this year across the country, a figure well above the 20-year average, with fire risk remaining elevated across Sicily, Sardinia, Calabria, and parts of the Alpine Arc stretching into the north. Now here is what ties all 3 countries together and what makes this particular week so critical. The driver behind every single one of these fires is the same, a relentless heat wave that has settled over southern and western Europe and refuses to move. Record-breaking temperatures, vegetation so dry it ignites from a single spark. winds that shift direction without warning and turn a fire that was being managed into a runaway blaze within minutes. This is not three separate disasters happening at the same time by coincidence. When fire reaches the infrastructure that humanity uses to explore the solar system, you are looking at a situation that has moved past ordinary disaster response into something that does not have a name yet. Emergency services across all three countries are delivering the same message right now. With high temperatures, low humidity, and strong winds expected to persist, the fight against these fires is likely to continue for several more days before any of them can be considered even close to under control. Hundreds of thousands of people are sleeping in evacuation centers tonight. Firefighting crews from across Europe are working through the night in conditions where the air itself is dangerous. And the fire weather forecast for the coming days has not improved. Let us talk about something that the breaking news coverage consistently leaves out, which is why these fires are behaving so differently from the fires that Europeans dealt with 20 or 30 years ago. It is not just that temperatures are higher, it is that the combination of factors that produces a serious fire has become dramatically more likely to occur simultaneously. Europe has been getting drier for years. The drought cycles that used to last weeks and then break with rain are now lasting months. When soil and vegetation dry out to the extent that they have across southern Europe this summer, the fire risk does not increase gradually. It escalates in a way that is almost exponential. Vegetation that is mildly dry is harder to ignite than wet vegetation. Vegetation that is severely dry is like tinder. Even a small fire can spread rapidly because everything around it is already prepared to burn. The fires moving through the Spanish mountains and the French pine forests right now are burning through landscapes that have been building toward this moment for months. The wind component of this crisis is what makes containment so difficult, even with the massive resources being deployed. Firefighters can create fire breaks and use aircraft to dump water and retardant, and those methods work under most conditions. But when the wind shifts, a fire break that was protecting one side of a community can suddenly be behind the fire. The fire jumps, new fronts open. The resources have to be repositioned. In the time it takes to reposition, more area burns. The erratic winds that Spanish officials were warning about this week are not an unusual factor that made
Damn. It's the Lord, man, the winds, fire jumping. Nah, man, this is a judgment, man, because these EU nations, this is where Esau's wickedness began from these European nations, man. The European nations will be judged as well. Okay? Now, America is the emphasis of judgment, from on high. Okay? America is going to be completely eradicated. All right? But these EU nations, man, okay, they have a lot of wickedness, because I say the colonization started, with those devils in Europe. America is what? An offshoot of the British. Okay? So what we're seeing is judgment, all right, being unleashed in the earth, man. Okay? So when you go here, let's get this thing in Isaiah, is it 29 and 6, Well, before I get this article real quick, because there was something in that article I wanted to get. Let me get this article, and then we'll get that. I believe it's Isaiah 29 and 6. If a brother want to post it. Let's go here. So I got this article to kind of fact check what was being said in that. All right, and this was from a few hours ago. This is from today. So it says, you got Turkish wildfires, evacuation. Okay. You got the hottest days this week in France. Okay. So yeah, man, the Lord is just pouring out wrath everywhere, and these things are going to continue to increase, hundreds of thousands, displaced. Okay. Belgium sends planes, soldiers, and firefighters. So it's taking the military, to fight these fires, man. Okay. You have over 2,000 dead in Europe just from heat related alone, man. Okay. UK authorities declare drought in about half of England. Okay. And this is all Europe, man. This is these 10 horns. Okay. Hey, the Lord is getting at this beast system, man. Wildfire on Greek island sparks evacuation. Okay. Say fire rich grows in Greece and beyond. It was one. Here we go. It says the next days. You read this. It says the next days will be very difficult for France, but separate wildfire risk is growing for Greece, Italy, and Central Europe in the beginning, all right, of August, said Maria Zuber, head of EU's Emergency Response Coordination Center. It says if the fires don't go out in Portugal and Spain by then we will have all Europe on fire. If the fires don't go out in Portugal and Spain by then we will have all Europe on fire, man. Judgment going forth, man. Okay. Verdoux winemaker, you know, I believe that's that French wine they have in Costco. It's some pretty good wine, you know. When they saying, you know, their harvest, you know, their grape harvest have a chance, you know, of being affected. Okay. Yeah, man. So yeah. Just reading this article, man, it's going down. You see? So yeah, let's go. So yeah, let's go. Here's just the brother servants of Yahweh Shai, Isaiah 29:6. And it said, thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and with great noise, you know, because a few weeks ago it was an earthquake that was the headline, you know. And it says in great noise and with storm and tempest, okay, and the flame of devouring fire. Okay. And we know ultimately, all right, that main flame of fire here in America, man. You see, but we have these fires that's, you know, then the smoke, you know, the air quality, you see, you know, people breathing in all that smoke, the animals breathing in that smoke, you know. So these things are having a major effect, man. The earth is heating up, man. The Lord is heating up in judgment, man. You know, I say 1 week is the earthquakes, that's the headline, and next week is the fires, and the week after that's the floods, then you got the war continuing on, all right, and you got food recalls, and you got, you know, the civil unrest, okay. Let's go here, yep, and the brother put this brother Yashimai, tribe of Judah, 2nd Ezra 9:1, so he answered then and said, measured out the time diligently in itself. Okay, and how do we measure the time, man? Look at what's going on and compare it to prophecy, man. The Lord is heating up, man. You know, the Lord is heating up judgment, man. The Lord is at the point where he's ready to just unleash judgment. And that's why, you know, as these devils are putting things in place for the famine of the word, well, that's right on top to where he's beyond talking. Okay, and it's just going to be all action out here, man. Okay, and it says, and when thou seest part of the sign pass, which I told thee before, okay, verse 2, it said, then shalt thou understand that it's the very same time wherein the highs will begin to visit the world which he made. You know, he's going to visit this place through judgment. Okay, he's going to introduce himself to the world. All right, as God Almighty, you know, Allah Shadra, terrible demon-like power, man. So judgment's going to increase. Okay, what's going to increase? Is this devil, you know, it's scrambling to roll out the new world order, man. You know, so this is beautiful. You know, everything is happening according to, you know, the favor of the elect, man. You know, the Lord's favor towards his elect in these last days. You know, so Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters, edifice again. We all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Bahashem, honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS. who rule well, teach well, being great example brothers. Peace and blessings, salutations, hope, like Shalom.